Jon and Kate Gosselin were once the picture of a perfect, bustling family. Their reality show Jon and Kate Plus 8 captivated millions, showcasing the chaotic yet heartwarming life of raising twins and sextuplets. But behind the scenes, their marriage was unraveling piece by piece. For years, fans speculated about what truly went wrong. Was it the relentless pressure of fame, the exhaustion of raising 8 children, or something far more painful? Now, after 16 years, Jon has finally spoken out. His words paint a tragic picture of love lost and a home shattered. "She was disgusting," he admitted in a rare moment of raw honesty, his voice heavy with old wounds. Not in the way tabloids once suggested, not about appearances, not about superficial things, but the way she treated him, the way their love had decayed into control, resentment, and loneliness, all while cameras continued to roll. Jon never wanted his family to break apart. But as time passed, it became clear staying together was destroying him. Now, all these years later, he looks back with sadness, not just for himself, but for the family that was torn apart, leaving scars that may never fully heal. To truly understand the situation between this couple, let's go back to the start of their story, the rise of Jon and Kate, a story of love, trials, and blessings. Jon Gosselin never expected to fall in love the way he did. When he met Kate Kreider at a company picnic in 1997, it wasn't an instant spark but a quiet, growing connection. Kate was outspoken, determined, and always had a plan. Jon, on the other hand, was easygoing, content to take life as it came. They were opposites in many ways, but something about Kate's energy drew Jon in. She made him feel like he could be part of something bigger, something special. Their relationship moved quickly, and within 2 years they were married. Life as newlyweds was exciting, full of dreams and endless possibilities. They wanted a big family, a house filled with love and laughter. But as months turned into years with no pregnancy, the first real challenge of their marriage surfaced: struggles, prayers, and a miracle. Kate had always dreamed of being a mother. So when doctors told her she had polycystic ovary syndrome, COS, making conception difficult, she was devastated. Jon, ever the comforter, reassured her that they would find a way. Their journey led them to fertility treatments, a process filled with hope but also heartbreak. The emotional toll was heavy. Every failed attempt was another crack in Kate's resolve. Finally, after months of uncertainty, they received the news they had been praying for. Kate was pregnant with twins. It felt like the universe had finally smiled upon them. In 2000, Cara and Mia were born, bringing a new kind of joy into their lives. Parenthood was exhausting but deeply fulfilling. They had their family, and that was all that mattered. But Kate still wanted more children. She longed for the big family they had once dreamed of. Jon was hesitant, knowing the financial and emotional strain they were already under, but he supported his wife's wishes. They returned to fertility treatments, never expecting what would come next, the sextuplet surprise. In 2003, they received life-altering news. Kate was pregnant again, this time with 6 babies. The doctors warned of the risks, urging them to consider selective reduction. But for Kate and Jon, every life mattered. They chose to move forward, bracing themselves for the unimaginable. The pregnancy was grueling, with Kate on strict bed rest for months. Every day was a fight to keep the babies safe. Then, on May 10, 2004, their sextuplets, Alexis, Hannah, Aiden, Colin, Leah, and Joel, were born 10 weeks premature. The sight of their tiny, fragile bodies in incubators was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. But despite the odds, all 6 survived. Their family had grown overnight from 4 to 10. The once quiet home was now filled with endless cries, diapers, and sleepless nights. Jon and Kate were overwhelmed, but they tackled it together. Jon worked long hours in it to provide, while Kate took on the enormous responsibility of managing the household. It wasn't easy, but love fueled them. Reality TV and the beginning of the change. Raising 8 children was no small feat, and finances were tight. When a documentary crew approached them about filming their life for a 1-hour special, they agreed. It seemed harmless, a way to share their journey and maybe inspire others. But the response was overwhelming. People were fascinated by the Gosselins, and soon TLC offered them a full reality series, Jon and Kate Plus 8. At first, the show felt like a blessing. The financial support meant they could give their children the life they deserved. They were able to move into a bigger home, provide more opportunities, and worry less about money. But as the cameras rolled day after day, something changed. Fame has a way of magnifying everything: the joys, the struggles, and the cracks in a marriage. What once felt like a team effort began to feel like a performance. Kate, always the planner, thrived in the spotlight. She became the face of the show, managing schedules, sponsorships, and media appearances. Jon, however, felt trapped. The easygoing man who once found joy in simple family moments was now part of a well-oiled machine that never stopped running. The pressure was immense. Their every move was scrutinized, their arguments captured for millions to see. The small disagreements that once blew over now felt like major battles played back on TV screens for the world to judge. Love under the weight of fame. Jon and Kate had once been inseparable, a couple who faced struggles hand in hand. But fame had shifted their roles. Kate became more controlling, trying to maintain order in a life that had become chaotic. Jon withdrew, feeling like he had lost himself in the process. The cameras didn't just document their lives. They changed them. Their moments of tenderness became rare. Jon missed the days when their love was private, when they didn't have to put on a show. Kate, overwhelmed by responsibility, saw Jon's withdrawal as abandonment. They were growing apart and neither knew how to fix it. By 2009, the tension reached its breaking point. Rumors of infidelity, financial disagreements, and control issues swirled around them. The once beloved couple was now tabloid fodder, their marriage unraveling in the public eye. And what would follow next would leave fans all over the world too stunned to even comment. The public divorce announcement and the fallout. By 2009, the cracks in Jon and Kate's marriage were no longer something they could hide. The tension had been growing for years, intensified by the relentless filming schedule and the pressures of raising 8 children in the public eye. Their fights, once private, were now part of a national spectacle, broadcast to millions of viewers. On June 22, 2009, during a special episode of Jon and Kate Plus 8, the couple confirmed what the tabloids had been speculating for months. They were getting a divorce. Kate, composed but visibly emotional, spoke first. Over the course of this show, Jon and I have grown apart, she admitted. Her words were careful, measured, an attempt to keep the discussion civil despite the storm brewing beneath the surface. Jon, however, looked exhausted, defeated. "It's not what I wanted," he confessed, his voice filled with regret. "But I think it's necessary for us to move forward." What was meant to be a somber, mature discussion about co-parenting and the best interests of their children quickly turned into one of the most dramatic celebrity divorces of the decade. Speculations and the Haley Glassman affair. Within days of the announcement, the media circus exploded. Paparazzi followed Jay's every move, and soon a new name entered the headlines: Haley Glassman. Haley was the 22-year-old daughter of Dr. Lawrence Glassman, a plastic surgeon who had performed Kate's tummy tuck after the birth of the sextuplets. She had known Jon and Kate for years, but few could have predicted the whirlwind romance that would follow. Just weeks after the divorce announcement, Jon was spotted vacationing in St. Tropez with Haley. Photos of the pair laughing, drinking, and holding hands spread like wildfire. The public was stunned. Had Jon really moved on so quickly? Had he been seeing Haley before the divorce was even finalized? Kate, who had worked tirelessly to maintain an image of a devoted mother, was humiliated. "He's not the person I married," she said in an interview, struggling to hide her disgust. "This isn't about me. It's about our children, and I will do whatever it takes to protect them." Jon insisted he hadn't cheated, that his relationship with Haley only started after he and Kate had separated. But the damage was done. His reputation crumbled overnight, and the public, who had once sympathized with the overwhelmed father of 8, now saw him as reckless, selfish, and irresponsible. Haley, too, was thrown into the fire. She received hate mail, threats, and relentless media scrutiny. Within months, the relationship soured. Haley publicly accused Jon of being emotionally abusive, claiming he had used her as a distraction from his failing marriage. "He was like a 9-year-old stuck in a 32-year-old's body," she said bitterly. Accusations of abuse and the court battle for custody. As the divorce proceedings unfolded, the battle for custody became vicious. Kate fought for full custody, claiming Jon was unstable and unfit to care for the children. Jon, desperate to prove he was still a devoted father, pushed back hard. The legal fight turned into a media spectacle. Kate alleged that Jon had drained their shared accounts, spending irresponsibly on cars, vacations, and a lavish party lifestyle. Jon countered with accusations of his own, claiming Kate was a control freak who emotionally manipulated their children. But the most shocking allegations came later. In 2017, their son Colin, who had been sent away to a behavioral treatment facility for undisclosed reasons, revealed that he had suffered abuse not from his father, but from Kate. In a heartbreaking Instagram post, Colin wrote, "My mom is abusive. She always has been. She ruined my life." Jon, who had been fighting to get custody of Colin for years, took the opportunity to speak out. "I've been saying this for years," he said. "I fought so hard for my kids because I knew what was happening behind closed doors." Kate denied the allegations, insisting that she had only ever acted in her children's best interests, but the damage to her public image was undeniable. Jon eventually won custody of Colin and Hannah, while the rest of the children remained with Kate. It was a heartbreaking split, dividing the once close siblings into two separate households. The insane fallout and Jon's regret. By the mid-2010s, Jon Gosselin was a shadow of the man he once was. The charming, happy-go-lucky father had been replaced by someone weighed down by regret, exhaustion, and years of public humiliation. Gone were the days of reality TV fame. With no steady income from Jon and Kate Plus 8, Jon took whatever jobs he could to make ends meet. He worked as a DJ, a cook, and even a waiter at a local restaurant. The man who once lived in a $1 million home was now barely scraping by. Reflecting on his past, Jon admitted that he had made terrible mistakes. "I lost myself," he said in an interview. "I let fame get to my head, and I didn't fight hard enough to keep my family together." His biggest regret, he admitted, was how much his children had suffered. "I never wanted them to go through this. I never wanted them to be torn apart." Jon also expressed remorse over his relationship with Haley Glassman. "I was lost, and I used that relationship as an escape. It wasn't fair to her, and it wasn't fair to my kids." Meanwhile, Kate continued to build her brand, appearing on various reality shows and launching new projects. But despite her public success, insiders reveal that life behind the scenes was lonely. "Kate has always been about control," a source said. "But at the end of the day, she lost her husband, and now she's lost two of her kids. A father's redemption." In recent years, Jon has made efforts to rebuild his life. He's formed a strong bond with Hannah and Colin, who chose to live with him full-time. He's spoken openly about the importance of mental health, learning from his past mistakes, and focusing on what truly matters, being a good father. Despite everything, Jon still hopes for reconciliation with his other children. "I love them all," he says. "I just want them to know that no matter what's happened, I will always be here for them." Kate, too, has softened with time. Though they rarely communicate, there are signs that the war between them may finally be settling. "The past is the past," Kate said in a rare moment of reflection. "What matters now is that the kids are okay." The story of Jon and Kate is one of love, trials, and immense pain. They started as two young dreamers, hopeful and full of love, only to be torn apart by fame, pressure, and their own flaws. But through it all, the one thing that has remained constant is their love for their children. And maybe, just maybe, that love will be enough to heal the wounds of the past. But recent developments have caused old wounds to resurface, threatening this newfound stability. Speaking up after 16 years, Jon Gosselin's reflections on a life torn apart. 16 years have passed since Jon and Kate Gosselin's bitter public divorce shattered the illusion of their once perfect family. Time has dulled the sharp edges of scandal, but it has not erased the wounds. Now at 47 years old, Jon Gosselin sits in a quiet, unremarkable home, far removed from the lavish lifestyle he once shared with his wife and 8 children. He is no longer the reality TV star, the tabloid sensation, or the man who once grinned from magazine covers alongside Kate and their children. He is just Jon. And Jon is a man filled with regrets. When Jon recently spoke about the past, one phrase stood out among his reflections: "She was disgusting." The words were harsh, almost shocking, but they weren't an attack made in the heat of anger. They were the raw, unfiltered truth of how he once saw his ex-wife, the woman he had loved, built a family with, and ultimately lost. "I don't mean that she was disgusting," as a person, Jon clarifies. "At the time I saw what she was doing, and I just couldn't understand it. We had already been through so much. Our marriage had crumbled. Our family was falling apart, and she still wanted to continue filming." In 2010, after their divorce, TLC rebranded Jon and Kate Plus 8 into Kate Plus 8. The message was clear: Kate was moving forward and Jon was being erased. He had fought to end the show, believing their children needed privacy after the divorce. But Kate refused. She told me, "This is how we survive." This is our future. But to me, it wasn't survival. It was exploitation. Jon admits, I saw my kids being used as entertainment while their parents were ripping each other apart. And Kate, she just kept going like nothing had happened. It felt cold. It felt heartless. It felt disgusting. In hindsight, Jon acknowledges that his emotions at the time clouded his judgment. He was angry, broken, and desperate to regain control of his life. But now, with years of distance, he wonders if he was too quick to judge. Maybe she really thought she was doing the right thing, he says, rubbing his hands together as if trying to warm himself. Maybe she didn't know how to stop. A man cut off from his own past. It's been 16 years since Jon last spoke to Kate. The last time he heard her voice was in 2009 over the phone. Since then, silence has filled the void between them. I don't even know what she sounds like anymore, Jon says softly. It's weird to think about. We spent 10 years together, built this whole life, and now nothing. Not a word. Kate has made it clear that she has no interest in reconnecting. The walls between them aren't just emotional, they are legal and absolute. Even co-parenting, which most divorced couples attempt for their children's sake, was never an option for them. Kate had full custody of the kids except for Hannah and Colin, who chose to live with Jon. The divide became permanent, and Jon found himself estranged from 6 of his own children. I don't even know if they'd recognize me if they saw me on the street, he confesses. His voice cracks slightly, and he clears his throat. I tried to fight for them, I really did. But I lost. Jon's downward spiral after the divorce wasn't just about losing his family. His short-lived relationship with Haley Glassman became another chapter in his long list of regrets. I met Haley at a time when I was completely lost, Jon admits. She was young, carefree, and she didn't come with all the baggage that my marriage had. At first, it felt like a fresh start. But the relationship wasn't built on love. It was built on escape. Jon wanted to forget his past, and Haley, eager for adventure, became the perfect distraction. The media painted her as a home wrecker, but in reality, she was just as lost as Jon was. She wasn't the villain people made her out to be, he says. If anything, I was the villain in that relationship. She deserved better than me, he says, shaking his head. I was selfish. I was trying to fill a void that couldn't be filled. And when she left, I realized just how broken I really was. Life after the spotlight. The years that followed were not kind to Jon Gosselin. The reality TV fortune dried up, and he found himself working regular jobs. The transition from celebrity to ordinary man was brutal. I went from being on the covers of magazines to waiting tables at a local diner, he says. People recognized me, but not in a good way. They'd whisper. They'd laugh. I could hear them saying, "That's Jon Gosselin. Look how far he's fallen." For a long time, he drowned in bitterness. He blamed Kate, TLC, and the media for everything that had gone wrong in his life. But as the years passed, he began to see the truth. I made my own choices, he admits. I let my anger control me. I let my pride push people away. And I lost so much because of it. Looking back, Jon doesn't just mourn the life he lost. He mourns the man he used to be. I used to be happy, he says. I used to be a dad who tucked his kids into bed at night. I used to have a wife who, for all our differences, I once loved more than anything. And now I have memories and regrets. His relationship with Hannah and Colin is the only bright spot in his life, but even that is tinged with sadness. The other 6 children, Cara, Maddie, Alexis, Aiden, Leah, and Joel, are still estranged from him. I wish I could go back, Jon whispers, more to himself than anyone else. I wish I had handled things differently. I wish I had been stronger, smarter, and more patient. Maybe then my kids wouldn't have had to grow up in the middle of all this. A new chapter, a father's greatest wish. After years of turmoil, regret, and reflection, Jon Gosselin is finally looking ahead. At 47, he is engaged to Stephanie Lebo, a woman who has brought him peace, a kind of stability he hasn't felt in a long time. This engagement isn't just about love. It's about redemption, about proving to himself and those around him that he is capable of building something meaningful again. As he prepares for his wedding, Jon's greatest hope is that all of his children will be there. Hannah and Colin, the 2 who have stood by his side, are certain to be present. But the thought of his other 6 children fills him with longing. I want them to know that I still love them, Jon says. No matter how much time has passed, no matter how much distance there is between us, I'm still their dad. He doesn't expect forgiveness overnight. He doesn't expect a picture-perfect reunion. But if there was ever a moment that could bring them together again, he hopes it's this one. Over the past year, Jon has been working on himself. He's lost weight, shedding not just physical pounds, but also the emotional baggage that weighed him down for so long. I didn't just want to look better. I wanted to feel better, he explains. I wanted to be the kind of man my kids could be proud of. His focus now is on being a better father, not just to Hannah and Colin, but also to his fiance's child. The responsibility of raising another person's child is not lost on him. I know what it's like to grow up feeling distant from a parent, Jon admits. I don't want any child in my life to feel that way. He's putting in the effort one day at a time, showing up, listening, and learning from the mistakes of his past. Jon Gosselin has made mistakes. He has lost people. He has battled regret. But he is trying. He is fighting for his future, for his children, for love. But in the end, will it be enough? If you were in his children's shoes, would you forgive him? Would you allow time to heal the wounds of the past? Or are some relationships, no matter how deep, simply beyond repair? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next.